First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for all the love and support and encouragement that I got after sharing my story. It was super encouraging for me to hear from you and to hear all of your messages. I just want to say that anytime I share my story, it is incredibly difficult and it is incredibly hard to do. And it pops up a lot of fear and anxiety and all sorts of emotions in me. And I think, just to reiterate why it is that I'm doing this is to bring understanding and to bring awareness around this topic. It is my heart to help others that feel like they are alone in this journey. And I just want you to know that you're not alone and that you matter and that you're enough, and just to share hope that it's possible and there is a way through this, and that you can live after you've gone through difficult things. One of the biggest questions I think that we got from doing the first 3 segments about my story was, how do I support myself in this journey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good question. Thank you to so many people that just reached out and gave Melanie the feedback she did and asked the questions. That's an encouragement to her. Like she said, it takes some courage, and it pulls on you every time you share something like this. So thanks, Mel. One of the things we've been talking about is, that healing and going inside. I'm a reader. I love to read. I love to listen to audiobooks. I love to collect knowledge and data. And for myself, when I look at trying to think of some of my belief patterns and the habits I have and things that I react to the way I shouldn't, I have all this head knowledge, but yet I fight to really change some of those patterns. And one of the questions that you dealt with was going inside and how to do that and why that's so important.
Mm-hmm. I think the journey home, which is what I call it, the journey home, the journey, and why that word reclaim is so powerful, because I think it's a place of restoring to a natural being, restoring what is natural, like when you reclaim furniture, right, or anything else, you're reclaiming to a natural state. And I think if this was just a conscious journey, we would have done this decades ago through positive affirmation. But the thing is that this process is an embodiment, and it has to involve body, soul, and spirit, and you have to be in your body to heal. You have to breathe. You have to be feeling. You can't be numb, and you can't be logically trying to figure this out without being present in your body.
Yeah.
And as I talked about in one of the segments, at the beginning, even at a really young age, I felt that incredible void, and I talked about how I began to really outsource my power, and I began to go to everyone and anyone that I think could help fix me, and I really kind of gave over my power and basically said, like this, and this is wrong, and like what's wrong with me? Fix me. I just felt like I was broken, and I didn't know where to start, and I didn't know what all this unexplained pain was inside of my body. So I want to kind of share in this segment and following segments kind of what my support team looks like, and I want to connect with some of the different practitioners that support me in my healing journey. But what I want to talk about mostly today is how important it is to connect with self, and that is really where the journey begins. And when I started that journey, I was so disassociated from self and so numb to my emotions that if you would have said, Mel, you got to start with being connected to yourself, I would have said, check, done, next thing, where do I go? Because you don't even realize how much maybe you medicate to numb the pain, or keep your life distracted with doing, and so busy that you're not really taking time to be present with yourself. There's just so much going on in life, and you go from one thing to the next, and you know, you got pain coming up or this happening in your body, and you're just like silencing it, and you just keep going because life is busy. I got kids, I got work, I got to do this, I got to do that.
Right. So instead of meditate is one of the things.
So in the beginning, it starts with trusting yourself. You know, there was an abandonment to me as a really young child in that nurture, protection, safety stage. And I, even in myself, abandoned myself with that inner child that was crying out through decades of my life with pain, with giving me signals, because I didn't understand my body wisdom. I didn't understand even what I had gone through. And I definitely did not have a roadmap or a manual on what exactly was going on. All I knew was I've got pain and I got to keep going in life.
Yeah. Do you know, I know we have lots we want to talk about in a short video, but you just said something that I think is important to talk about, and that's abandoning myself or yourself. And I think it's something that I've done, and I think everybody probably does so naturally that we don't even realize we're doing it. Where we take the time to acknowledge the feelings and emotions and allow ourselves to just be present in that moment. Why am I angry? Why am I sad? Can you explain the importance of that and like what that is for you as you discovered that? Just not abandoning yourself, but taking that space or that place to find yourself in that space. Rhyming.
You know, that's a really tricky question, because again, you only know to be true what you're living in your body.
Right.
So the fact that you're numb, or the fact that maybe you're just feeling this surface emotion of anger, but not really allowing yourself to feel what's underneath of this. I think when it was an eye-opener really, I think when we were actually in counseling, it was marriage counseling, and we had a homework assignment, and it was to, you know, I had to go home and we had to touch one another, not in a sexual way, just touch and feel the other person. And I remember the counselor coming back after, and we met with her, and it was like, what did you feel, Melanie? And I was like, nothing. I felt nothing. He was hairy. I felt nothing. And she's like, no, Mel, I'm asking you, what do you feel? And that was the moment I realized, oh my gosh, I don't feel anything. And it wasn't really till I was even working with an energy healer, really, a practitioner with energy, that, you know, we were going through the same dynamic, and she was asking me something about feeling, and she realized, you're actually not even in your body. And I probably led a lot of my life really in my mind, you know, thinking, and not really feeling, and not really being in my body, being present in my body. Because what happens when you go through trauma or pain, it's almost like you disassociate and you fragment, and really trauma affects your soul. And so in that moment, she helped me through different ways to learn how to get in my body. And that's where my journey began. So there was things like grounding techniques that help me, you know, smell senses. Often when I meditate, I begin to smell incense of some sort, or I'll, you know, look at colors, four corners of the walls. I'll, you know, have my feet on the floor. Sometimes I'll just even do this in nature. That's very grounding. But bring the five senses alive to make sure I'm in my body and not in my mind. So meditation was a really, really good place to start for me. When I meditated, you know, just like relaxing my brain, because it can go crazy on me. So relaxing my brain and just closing my eyes to go inside. And when I did that, how I looked at it was I just consciously kind of began to follow my breath. and I would just bring awareness, because often how we breathe is how we lived. And I noticed I wasn't breathing full, and I was holding my breath so much. And then I would just begin to scan my body and see how it felt. And so a lot of those techniques in the beginning of my own meditation really helped me to ground into my body, to be present and to be still with myself, and just feel what that feels like, just to be still with yourself, you know, because we keep our lives so busy that we sometimes don't even take the time to just be alone. And so your body wants to talk, you know, and sometimes the only time you choose to be still is when you go to sleep, and so you end up with insomnia. So, you know, the process of healing, like your body always wants to heal, and so it's intuitively knows what to do. And I encourage you not to wait till you go to sleep to take that time to connect with yourself. Another place, you know, very quickly, I found was yoga. And again, I'll bring in someone to talk about the science behind yoga and why that helps, because I can't really explain all of that, but I can tell you on that mat, it was just me and that mat. Mm-hmm. And as I began to do the poses, I began to go inside of my body. And that was one way I began to connect with self. Mm-hmm. Something that just intuitively happened too was creativity. And, you know, I look at it like, you know, you have a wounded inner child. We all have wounded inner childs. But there's also the magical and creative child inside of you. And even though there's this process to integrate the inner child, because when I began the work too, and the memories came, and I worked with counselors or whoever, it was always like that happened to her. And it was a really hard thing for me to integrate, to recognize that that's me. That's all of me. And part of there's so many things really in my journey that helped me to ground and come connected, but one was creativity. So whether it was art, so, you know, drawing, whether it was pencil, charcoal, watercolor, acrylic, as I began to do, I didn't even know I could paint, but as I began to do it, it was very, very healing. And it was a time where I allowed that magical side of my child inside of me to create and to explore. And through it, it was just really therapeutic and really, really healing. So anyways, explore the creative side. When I started, I didn't even know what I liked. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. If someone would ask me, what do you like? I would be like, oh, I don't know. All I do is work, and I love my kids, and I love my dog, and I work.
And what do you do for you?
What do you do for you? And I think that's kind of one of those words out there right now that has gone wild, is self-care. And I think there's kind of a misunderstanding around self-care. I think, you know, so many people think self-care is taking a bath or going to get your nails done. But to me, self-care is, what are you doing to make your body your home, and to make living inside your body safe? Mm-hmm. And what are you doing to nurture yourself, to make yourself feel safe and protected and comfortable in your body? And that might sound weird, but we do so much to run, right, and distract ourselves, to not recognize that unresolved things that are going on inside of us that just tend to keep compiling if we don't deal with them. So what are you doing to connect with those emotions? And I know for me it was really, really difficult connecting with emotions, and when they came, because I wasn't, they were almost like foreign to me. One thing I found is if you can hang with an emotion in a trigger for 90 seconds and just know that you're safe and that it's going to pass in 90 seconds, and just allow your body to feel all of it. That was kind of one of the things that was so helpful, that, okay, I'm not going to die. I'm just going to allow myself to feel this emotion. Mm-hmm. So just connecting with yourself. And another super important process in this journey of self-care and connecting with self is taking the time to cultivate a spiritual practice in your life. And I'm not a religious person, but I do consider myself a spiritual person. And so when I say cultivate a spiritual practice, I don't mean attend a church on a Sunday. I mean, what are you doing to cultivate the connection between yourself and the divine? Because that's super important in the healing journey. And that can look like it can look different for every human. So I don't want to put parameters or boundaries or anything on that. You know, it can be connecting with your divine, it can be connecting in nature, but it's really, really important to connect on a spiritual level.
Right.
Because we're a spiritual being.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? No?
Lots of thoughts. How long can we make the video?
Are we at 15 minutes already?
We're at 16 minutes.
Okay, so really quickly, we're going to close this. So over the next few weeks, and in July mostly, I'm going to try and connect with different practitioners that have supported and helped me in the journey. And one thing I've known is, first and foremost, you're your greatest physician, you're your greatest healer. And so take control of your healing journey. You're the one who's in control. But in the movement of healing, in the movement of making progress and moving forward, you will know that you get triggered and things will come up. And that's where you need a support team. And I'm a huge proponent of having that support team. I couldn't do what I'm doing right here, right now with you, sharing publicly, sharing with other people, holding space for other people through their journey if I didn't have the support team.
Right.
So for me, I take a baby step. I know I'm going to get triggered, but then I know I have this amazing team who supports me and helps me regain that peace and kind of, you know, ground zero again, and with support in whatever way I need it. And then I make another step. So in the next segments, I want to connect with different practitioners who can really bring the science behind what they do and why it helps us in the healing journey. I can tell you what I've done, and I can tell you who I've seen and why, you know, like how it's helped me in the process, but I really don't know the science behind. So again, this is all about education and awareness. So I'm hoping to connect with these people, merely that to put awareness out. You know, where you choose to seek help is your choice and your journey. So in reaching out and connecting with these different practitioners and sharing segments of what they do, it's not to say that that's where you need to go, but it is to just bring you education and understanding about what they do and the different healing modalities that are out there to help you in your journey.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's great.
Okay, perfect. So anyways, look for our next segments coming up with different practitioners in July. Other than that, thank you again for watching us. We're not going to be using social media in full video format anymore. So if you want to watch our series, please feel free to check us out on YouTube. There's a link on my Instagram, Melanie Mensch, Reclaim You, Body, Soul, Spirit, which you can access our YouTube, and also on Facebook. All right, thanks so much. Have a great